Hello, Internet. This is Leisha Sterling with Geeks Without Bounds, and today we are starting a brand new mentorship with the Geeks Without Bounds Accelerator program. Our Accelerator participant today is Manuel Barrutia. His project that he applied to the Accelerator with is called GEFOT. I'm going to let him tell you all about it in a few moments. But we brought him into the program not just because of this prototype that he did at the 2015 International Space Apps Challenge, but also because of the wider work that he's been doing down there in Guatemala. We're really excited to bring you on board, Manuel, and I'm looking forward to sharing all about your project with the world and starting to find out how we can help you move it forward. Okay. So, Manuel, could you just take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your project?
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, guys. How are you? Hello, everyone in the world, whoever hacker is looking at us right now. And so pretty much my name is Manuel Barrutia. I work as a microbiologist, not licensed, in a micro laboratory back in the University of Galileo, Guatemala City. And 3 years ago I started a project. It's a planetary engineering technique using microalgae. And I contact with some folks of NASA Ames Research to help on this research I was doing on myself about Lake Atitlan and other lake resources. And I got the opportunity to know some kind of technology called an offshore membrane enclosures for growing algae. Pretty much it's a wastewater treatment technique, and it's pretty much it uses microalgae to take out the wastewater from the fresh water that is coming out of the city or any developed industry near water shores. And I was doing a terraforming platform with another biodome, call it a GEFOT. It's a green edge of the future technology, you know, organic technology, because I want to make this organic. So that's what I make it organic, like the O and the GEFOT. So pretty much it's just a biodome, and it produces vegetables. It's a closed environment. It doesn't you know, hang out with the environment outside. It has a different atmosphere. And then I just realized that it would be better to clean the water and make it a more efficient platform for carbon sequestration, oxygen production, food production, nutrients production as well. And what I did is I take the two ideas and I make a terraformation platform that can be used in Mars or or to be part of the desertification agreement in some part of the world. So that's pretty much about it. And I was doing a research in Lake Atitlan last year. They gave me the opportunity to show my idea on how we can clean the toxic waste or dead zone formations on the lake, and without affecting the biological cycle of the organisms inside the lake. And so pretty much I show up. Maybe I can share you some of the information and photos on that event. And it pretty much consists in a floating structure. It's a flexible plastic structure full of wastewater that uses microalgae, and it absorbs CO2. It's a part of the photosynthesis reaction on plants. So and releases oxygen. Pretty much what is facing Guatemala right now is that all natural resources are being absorbed by industries that are not ecologically minded. Much less sustainable development, right? They just want to take their resources and go out of the country, right, to make money. And so yeah, we're facing several catastrophes, not only natural. Right now we're fine. It's a very sunny day, and we have a delay on the rain season. So that is making some lakes like Amatitlán is almost a dead zone giant formation. It's not anymore a lake. It's not anymore considered a lake. But Atitlán it's still considered a lake. However, it has an infestation of a cyanobacteria called Limbia robusta. But what is happening right now is it start growing again as well. There are a lot of resources, but no one is taking action to clean the water. So pretty much that's what I did with my project. I mix this offshore membrane closure for green algae with my biodome, and I make a terraforming platform. And that's pretty much I can tell you guys, unless you can ask me something else. And yeah.
So just for everyone else, what does the GEFOT stand for?
It's a green edge of the future organic technology. That's what it stands for.
Green edge of the future organic technology?
Yes, I think space industry like short acronyms, so that's what I call it, GEFOT.
Gotcha.
Yes, that's what it is. And
so at the opening, I didn't introduce Mark. Actually, I'm going to let Mark introduce himself. And so, hi, Mark.
Hi. Nice to see you. Glad to have you here, Manuel, and be here with you. Sounds like you've got a very promising technology there.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, a little bit about me. Graduate of the University of Chicago. Been a lawyer for 25 years now.
Don't hold either of those things against him.
Yeah. Anyway, also done a lot of corporate turnarounds. My family's been in the business of going to companies that are either losing money or that are trying to grow fast, and to help them either turn around or control their growth and make sure that it goes in the right direction. I've done a number of these, everything from environmental school to health food packager to soup to nuts. You'll find that there are a lot of common denominators in any kind of endeavor or project. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to be giving you some rather unique tools to help you refine what you're doing and let you use your resources as efficiently as possible and keep you from getting sidetracked and keep you moving forward.
Of course. And the primary target is to help the communities develop an employee or jobs for them to cultivate their own vegetables and feed them on demand. That makes them not dependable on the system for bringing vegetables from other part of the country. I want to solve this problem because we're not just facing space, we're facing agriculture, and we're facing we call it here a very dry area, a corredor seco, and this is like a desert in the middle of Guatemala, and it's affecting a lot of people. So that's what I want to do my project. I don't want to do this project for someone who is not gonna help society understand that we can change the world with these kind of ideas. And there is a lot of work, but I have great faith. This is an integration of technologies. There's no innovation at all. It's very simple. I want to make it creative, fun, open source. I want everyone to cooperate in this because this is more like a gift for the future of mankind rather than my own gift to make my own money, right? And because at the end I will die when I'm old, and what is gonna time tell about me? So I prefer time tell that this guy make a good idea. He helped a lot of indigenous people in Guatemala, and so on, right? And I hope it works. And I know it's a lot of life cycle analysis, energy return investments as well. And but if I'm gonna keep pushing and perseverate, persistence is a virtue. So I hope to get to the point and have success in this kind of ideas. And thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. So I want to turn your attention now. I sent you a link to to a folder, a Google Drive, and there are 2 worksheets right now in that Google Drive. The first one, worksheet 1, basically asks, why are you here?
Okay.
And this is really core because kind of taking the time to both think really solidly about why you're here for yourself, but also communicating that to others, that helps you to shape what your project becomes, shape your story, and it helps basically to shape sort of the personality of your project, right?
Yes.
As an entity, so to speak. What is this project? And that starts off, especially in this particular case where there's just, sort of one founder who's bringing other people in, it's really going to start off with what you're pouring into it, right? And as you bring other people in, this is possibly also a question you want to be asking other people as they get started working with you. Like, why are you joining this project? And how are your experiences important to this project? So yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you now, and I'd love for you to sort of verbally tell me things, but later, in between this week and next week, it would be great if you sort of wrote that in. And by the way, don't worry if you feel more comfortable writing in Spanish. You can go ahead and write in Spanish, and I can translate that into English, or if you feel comfortable writing in English.
Okay.
It's all good. I just want you to feel comfortable in being able to express yourself fully, whatever that is. Okay. So tell me. Let's just start right there. What are your personal beliefs that lead you to work on this?
Personal beliefs? You mean like? Well, since I was a kid, I started making bonsais, the Japanese art, since I was 8 years old. So I have a lot of experience. I also show a lot of interest in and love in nature. And when I was like 10 years old, I started with my first what is this called? It's a terrarium. It's a terrarium. I make a terrarium.
Terrarium.
Tiles. So I started making a lot of pots with terrariums with moss and lichens, and then I just start participating in all the science events in school, and yeah, so that's pretty much I came to it. I always show an interest in space. Since I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I still wanted to do it, and I hope it came someday. It comes someday, and. So yeah, I show a lot of interest. Then I became a physicist for 1 year and 8 months in the National University in Guatemala City. But then because of a low income in the family, I had to work and support my mother, so I had to abandon my degree in physics. But with that knowledge, I started making money out of colloquiums talking about planetary evolution and stellar evolution in one of the best universities in Guatemala. Is called Universidad del Valle, and so I made some colloquiums there about stellar evolution and exoplanets, life in other planets, and how the universe works as well. So I have like a background, and then I start showing interest more and more interested about it. Then I became on the field of terraformation, and I was working in the laboratory making biomass for biodiesel, which is very, very hard to do it. We don't have we have the technology here, but it's almost impossible to make biodiesel from biomass of the algae. It's a long-term process. You need different kind of technology that we don't have access here. Only in other parts, maybe Japan or the US, but we don't have this technology here. We can only make like a fertilizer and animal feed out of biomass from microalgae. We cannot do much more than that. And so then, yeah, I became interested in this Omega system, and I started working 3 years old, 3 years ago, on the International Space Station, showing this biodome, the deployable greenhouse. And then I just put the two concepts together, and they match very well. and I started a lot of research. I talked with the Mars Society and other folks as well who are very related in this Mars thing. So yeah, and then it became the GEFOT platform, right? And it's a mentally pursuit of human achievement through space, but also the project can help humanity to prevent hunger or energy demand or diseases, right? So yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's really amazing. I'm fascinated by the history, and I didn't want to interrupt you because it was great to get all of that history and all of those pieces together. But I want to dig deeper.
Okay.
Like, so, maybe you're doing this just because it's fun. Like maybe your belief here, the personal belief that's got you working on this is fun. but um, but having already talked with you, I actually know that your beliefs are a little bit deeper than that. Like, why is this important to you? Why is it something that you care about and that you want to spend the time on?
Okay. Well, first of all, because uh, I like it, as you say, I love it to make this, and it's very interesting. All of this research that is taking ahead on the biological concept, right, of making vegetables in different extreme environments. And so, yeah, that's pretty much about it. And pretty much as well, it's to support others, the communities. I have like a participation as an editor in an ONG and to produce these vegetables, right? Just to make the concept, the basic thing. What I'm doing this, it's because it came out of my mind to deploy this concept, and it was incredible. I did the first research 3 years ago with university equipment, making the oxygen pH and well, it's dissolved oxygen, and carbon dioxide inside a little pot. I will show the pictures later on, and yeah, that's what I like it. Like I like science, I like plants, I like biology, how to interact with that, and of course, there is a if you want to know, there is a like a humanitarian impact on the project, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a mentally pursuit of mankind achievement. So on Earth, so we have to prevail on Earth. Like we are taking the natural resources, and we are out of control because of consumerism, of materialism, or low spiritual beliefs, and it's making a new kind of society which is based only on physics things, like material things, but they don't believe beyond that. So I think this is a good start, and we have to show the world that we together, the humans, we can make unimaginable ideas to break the chains that is how is stuck in the world, or is stopping the world to be developed on the way that we're supposed to do this before the Industrial Revolution. Because what it came from the Industrial Revolution, it was a lot of because as well we didn't have good scientists, but it was like a zero era in which we didn't believe that those resources we were using in the Industrial Revolution were not affecting the Earth. But in the middle of the no, at the beginning of the 21st century, we showed that we were exponentially destroying Earth. Water,
Mm-hmm.
air, wood, natural resources, animals. Now we have a genetic modification of seeds. Now we have a genetic modification of how cows produce milk, and so on, right? There is a enormous list of things that are changing and are not well matched in nature. Nature is so perfect. If you change something in nature, nature is gonna it has billions of years of evolution. The entire universe is more evolutionized than human beings. So if you change something into that chain reaction, of course it's gonna make something very bad for the organism because it's not adapted. So we are just playing. We don't know what is out there, and we want to play in the world to see what's going on and what will happen. But we're doing it the wrong way. I think so.
You're finally you're getting at what you're getting at what I'm trying to get at right there.
Okay.
Your core beliefs that are underlying this. I'm gonna segue for just a moment. The the mic on your cord is rubbing against your shirt. So like if you can use a finger to just pull the mic away from your shirt, that might help.
Okay.
That's all. But back to the subject. So I mean, I would take that, like, if I was gonna write, based on what you were just saying, if I was gonna write some things into that answer, I would say things like, I believe that nature already has the answers about how we can survive. I believe that that mankind has not been paying attention to nature as we develop our industrial processes. I believe that mankind needs to start paying attention to nature as we move forward in our industry. Now,
Exactly.
what I'm saying right now might not match up exactly with what you would say.
Okay.
Maybe I'm close, maybe I'm far off, I don't know. That's for you to tell me. But I'm just trying to give you some examples, and I'm giving them as sort of like one-liners. You can write it up as a paragraph or describe it as you want, but put the answer very much in terms of the, I believe that this, and I believe that, and I believe that local communities should be able to grow healthy food even in areas that have been desertified, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an example. So think of those things that are your core beliefs, both about why the project is necessary, as well as about why you think that this project can fill a gap. And I'm not talking here about marketing hype. I'm talking about like your deep internal beliefs on this, okay? So I'm gonna move on to the next question and leave that there for you to kind of stew on and think about and do some writing. And I mean, this is a Google Doc. You can take as much room as you want to fill in these questions, or you can take as little room as you want. It's I want you to feel like you have a grasp on how your beliefs in general are affecting what you're doing, as well as your beliefs about why this project fits a need or why this project is important. Okay? So moving on to the second question, we sort of talked already about the personal experiences that are most important to your work on this project. So that's sort of the history. I kind of wrote some notes. Those notes are also going to be available to you. So if you need a memory jog or want to do some copy paste or whatever, you'll be able to do that afterwards. And then the third question on that worksheet is, how do you want this project to be a part of your life? Do you want this project that you're building through the process of this accelerator? Do you want this to be your full-time job? Do you want it to be just a part-time job? Do you want it to be just a part-time volunteer project that you do on the side? Mm-hmm. Or just a thing that you do when you have spare time? And don't be afraid. Like if what you think is, I want it to be my full-time job, but I know full well that I can't make a living off of it, that's not the question. The question is, what do you want it to be? Okay? And if you feel like you need to, say, but I don't think I can do that, then go ahead and write that underneath, because then we can explore like what are the barriers to getting what you want. But like from the start, what is it you hope that this project will be for you?
And keep in mind while you're doing this, you're not This is just your first pass at it.
Okay.
You don't have. You're not getting married here, okay? We're just looking at some basic stuff, and you know, this can change over time. You're not locked in for life by what you write. So just write down what you think as honestly as you can, and we'll put it aside, and we'll take a look at it as we go.
Guys,
Yeah.
I have sacrificed a lot of time in the development on this project. I have sacrificed better opportunities for a job, and I spent a year, almost 2 years, a year and a half on Atitlan Lake doing research. I'm able to make it a risk, because I think this project. I don't want to be spiritual or something like that, but I do believe that this project has a great and a huge potential to help humanity. And of course, if I get the opportunity to have the full-time job, I was doing that a few years ago, 1 year ago on the micro lab, full-time volunteer, no profit, no income, and I think I'm like, I can do this. It's my project. I'm able to risk it, and because there is a lot of opportunities for me, and I know because there is a lot of people who wants to help me, and I have people in Texas. A friend of mine from the Marines, Jay Jackson. He's an engineer for nuclear weapons in the Marines, and he just came 3 years ago to Lake Atitlan. I went together with him. We joined forces, and we're trying to make a non-profit organization out of the land that he buy up there. And we have 2 indigenous people that I'm teaching. He never end up 6th grade, and Ezekiel, he never went to school. So I'm teaching them at least some basic agricultural techniques and basics in science, natural sciences, you know. And so yeah, I think this is like part of my life. The project is me. I am the project, and of course we want to make the project to talk by itself. And yes, I take the opportunity. And as I told you, Alicia, this is an honor. Like, this is the best news of the year. I just got the help of Geek Without Bounds in Washington, Seattle to support my project. Who else is gonna take that opportunity? No one, because no one is interested to save the world. No one is interested to solve problems about high poverty areas, and no one is interested about cleaning the water. No one is interested about having a dirty on the hands when we are working on those projects. So, and I do, and
See, now you're sounding just like Mark. You sound like a very young version of Mark. You're too young to be that cynical. And let me tell you that yes, people do care. Absolutely, people do care. And Geeks Without Bounds wouldn't be able to exist without all of those people who do care. So take heart, both of you. And yeah, and know that there are lots of people who absolutely do care. Sometimes it seems like you're all alone in the forest.
yes.
But you're really not.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
It may be a minority, or it may be that it's hard to find the others, but the others are out there. And I'm sure that, over time the others will be watching this video, in the future and be going, yeah, I know what you mean. There's nobody else who thinks like us. Well, obviously there are. So yeah, so take heart, and you do have friends, like your friends in Texas, and the Japanese guy who's in Lake Atitlan now, that we were talking about the other day.
2 years, and he told me I'm gonna be here 2 years, and he wants to support, like, just about volunteer or any kind of engineering. So yeah, I have that people as well, and I've mentioned this on a video in Pulitzer Center. So I hope others are like more interested about this happening in Guatemala, about the water. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. I hope it works. I know it works.
Yeah.
I have great faith of this integration of
Engineering.
engineering, and it has to work. Like there is a lot of love, but more like always focus of not affecting the environment, always focus on helping others, always sharing, and this kind of wave of love and sharing, like it's like getting people like you to my project, but it's because of that sense, because of that common sense of goodness, or yeah, I might call it spiritual belief, but it has something like I
Yeah. So I just want to say also, I spoke to you before about the fact that the other project that we've just accepted into the Accelerator program is also in Guatemala and is also about water. And so I'm hoping that over the course of this 6 months, that we're going to find some ways that your project and their project can interlock, and that your two teams can support each other. Because the issue of water quality is important to both of you.
Okay.
The other project, by the way, is called Aguas con tu Agua.
Yeah, it's like
And
mapping water.
yeah, so that project sort of has two pieces. It's mapping people's perception of the water, and also educating people about the real water quality, and providing them with the tools, inexpensive water testing kits that will actually allow them to test and know for real what the quality of the water that they use actually is. So that's going to be a really interesting project, and finding the ways in which your two projects can connect up. And we also have another project that it has been connected with Geeks Without Bounds for a few months now, and that is called CanoeNet. And the big piece of CanoeNet is another sort of mapping project, mapping pollution in Ecuador, specifically in the Amazon jungle in Ecuador. And the major issue there is about water quality, and about how that's affecting the people there in the jungle, especially the indigenous communities that are living as close to the land as they possibly can, which means that they are also the most vulnerable to the pollution. And it's really interesting to see that these three projects have all kind of come into the Geeks Without Bounds sphere at about the same time, and how I'm really looking forward to seeing in the future if pieces of your project are able to help the people in Ecuador to clean up some of the water pollution that they've got, and also if some of the tools from Agua con to Agua can help the mapping and knowing for real what is and what isn't polluted water, and then also the tools that we're using in terms of communication and supporting indigenous communities in very remote areas where there are no roads, where there is no telephone, no television, very difficult communication, and literally the only way to get things from one place to another is on a canoe. The lessons that we learn from there, how can we take that and support other indigenous communities like the ones in Guatemala? And I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of these projects can grow independently, but also support and interlock with each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
I have
Sorry?
something. I have something for you. It's from a Cree Indian prophecy. It says there will come a time where the earth grows sick, and when it does, a tribe will gather from all cultures of the world who believe in deeds and not in words. They will work to heal earth. And I just wanted to remain that. So because we're gonna stand on the same page. We're trying to save planet Earth. We're trying to save Mother Earth. And this is a new venture of myself, and it, of course, it's gonna be a new venture for others who might support me. We don't know what is the end at the end of the way, but we certainly know that we have something good for our future. So I hope we make success out of this project.
Yeah. So I want to move us on to the second worksheet. So I call this the 25 things. Hold on a second.
Why don't I give Manuel a little background of what we're doing?
Yes, please do that while I type.
Okay. Now, okay, Manuel. One of the things that most people don't realize is that the minute you decide you're going to undertake a project, you're kicking off and you're committing yourself to a huge number of action items, many of which you can't quite see. Good example is, the business we consulted with a long time ago. This is something my family was involved with. It's one day on the golf course, and the chairman of the company says to the finance director, I think we should pay our shareholders a dividend this year. One simple sentence kicked off over 300 action items. You've got to get, and think of all the things, the steps involved. You've got to get a list of the shareholders. You got to make sure it's current. You got to know how many shares they've got. You've got to know their addresses and have good addresses for them. You got to make a trip to the store and get envelopes. You got to make sure that the stuff is printed out. It's a million things that you've got to do for that one sentence. Very simple thing.
Okay.
This is critical for you because you're one person. Your time is limited. Your resources are valuable. Okay? So what I'm getting at, first of all, is the good news is you can do everything you want to do, but the bad news is you can't do everything all at once. You've got to choose your projects and make them very clean and discreet and clear. What are you really trying to do is the question. Okay? You might want to write that down. What am I really trying to do? That is the main question that we're going to try and isolate here. Excuse me a second. I'm having a little trouble. So anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through a set of exercises that are going to seem so obvious that they're kind of stupid. Now, the point of this is to really just get everything laid out on the table so you can see it and you've got all the obvious stuff in front of you. You're not working from your head. You can see everything. It's all nice and laid out. And we're going to help you and assist you to essentially isolate a long-term goal of what you're trying to do. What do you want to see? Whether that's the lake cleaned up with a new technology that's cost-effective to clean up lakes everywhere, versus a short-term target, a very specific target of what steps I have to do to get to that point. You set the end point, the specific end point, and then you work backwards on the steps that you need to take and map it out.
Okay.
And we're actually going to do some actual mapping of this. What you'll find is that for every hour you spend planning, you'll save yourself about 8 hours of trouble. It really cuts your time because things you hadn't thought of suddenly pop up. There was an educational outfit we were working with, and they decided they were going to teach a certain kind of course and get a certain kind of certification. And as soon as they did that, they found out they needed a special license, which took 6 months to get. So the minute they decided they were going to teach this kind of class, they were 6 months behind because they had to wait for the license. And so we're going to sit here and just set those endpoints, a long one and some short ones, so that you can use your time and resources as effectively as possible. And I think you'll be amazed at what you alone can accomplish with this process. Okay?
Yeah, and so this first stage in getting to that point where we have short and long-term goals and that list of tasks that you need to do to reach your goals. Before we get there, we need to work on defining, what it is you're doing. Right. So for that, we've got this worksheet number 2. Now, you should know that, right now this is a 4-page long worksheet. And each page has a header. The first page is 25 things your project is. The second page is 25 things your project is not. The third page is 25 destiny factors.
Mm-hmm.
These are things you can't control. And then the last one is 25 assumptions. So for each of these, pretty much everyone finds the first couple really easy. I know that my project is about water. My project has fish. My project
is unfunded.
Yeah. Unfunded. Yeah. Right? So you do a few like that. And then what's going to happen is you're going to hit a wall, and you're going to be like, I don't know what else my project is. So at that point, let yourself be silly, okay? My project is, I don't know. I can't even think of something silly right now. Okay. See, I told you, a wall.
Well,
my project is squishy.
Yeah.
But that wall is a good thing because it forces you to be a little bit fanciful and think creatively and a little bit imaginatively, and you'll find that a lot of times you'll find some ideas come out of that. So.
Yeah, and then once you push through that, once you do a few of those kind of silly ones, you'll find yourself doing some serious ones. Like you'll do a couple silly, and then all of a sudden a new serious one will pop up to mind. When you hit 25, if you still have a flood of ideas in your head, silly or serious, it doesn't matter. Just keep going. Just keep adding numbers and keep going. Okay?
Okay.
And just go as long as you need to. And then, after you hit 25, when you feel like, okay, I'm done, then be done. But if you haven't hit 25, keep pushing. If you find that you're just like obscenely stuck and you just cannot do it, one good thing to do is to find another friend who will sit with you and help you out, because having a second person I find helps a lot. Don't hesitate to pop me a Google Hangout call. If I've got a few minutes or whatever, I'm more than happy to stop and spend a little bit of time working through this with you. Okay?
Nice. Thank you. This is so nice. Yes.
But you might also find, like, sitting down, I don't know what your mom is like, but, even with your mom, like sitting down with your mom and being like, hey, help me out with this, I need to get through these. And she might actually have some really great ideas. Like I said, I don't know your mom, but don't feel like it has to be a specific person or a specific kind of person who's your sounding board. If you feel comfortable sitting with that person and working through this, that is, completely up to you.
Okay.
I want to make sure that you understand what destiny factors are and what the assumptions are. Mark, would you like to kind of fill him in on what destiny factors are and what...
Yeah, your destiny factors are the things that you really can't control in this. The things that are going to control your destiny that are out of your reach. Things like, the rain. There's going to be rain in my province, and the lake is going to have water in it. It's rain patterns are changing. I mean, it's down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, it's drying up right now. Things like I'm assuming there is going to be that the government is going to stay intact. so that it's, you're not going to be having to run from guerrillas. That you're going to have a stable.
That's an assumption.
Okay.
That's an assumption. Well, it's connected to a destiny factor. But it's things
yes, but if it's a destiny factor, then you need to say it as a destiny factor. So the destiny factor would be I can't control who's in charge of the government.
Right.
I can't control political stability. Maybe that's
right.
a more...
Exactly. They're kind of related and similar, but they're...
And you may find, as you finish this whole process, that some of the things that this project is not is simply a negative version of something that you said this project is. And you may find that some of your assumptions are, just a different way of saying something that you've said in your destiny factors, or even something you've said somewhere else. But don't worry about that. That repetition is perfectly fine. And if anything, it's helpful because it helps you to understand sort of like how concrete certain issues are for you.
Mm-hmm.
And how sort of solid or fluid certain other issues might be for you.
Yeah.
I just want to warn you that almost everybody goes through a point in this exercise where they think it's really stupid and they're pissed off at us for giving it to them. Please go ahead and push through that, because everybody who has done it has, by the time they're done with it, gone, oh, actually that was useful. And yes, even I did that the first time I had to do this exercise for Geeks Without Bounds as a whole. I swore and cursed at Mark for, 3 or 4 hours before I was done. So luckily he is a patient and long-suffering man and put up with my grumbling as we got through that. So yeah, so we are at 4:46 Pacific time right now, so that's 5:46 in Guatemala at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just want to give you guys a few moments if there's anything else that you want to say before we end, and we can close this up at 50 minutes after the hour, roundabout.
Okay. I'm just gonna connect this computer to the electricity. Okay.
That's permitted.
Running out of battery. Okay.
Oh,
okay. Do 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 do. Please hold the line. So what do you think, Mark?
He does sound like me.
Yep. Yeah, I just think once upon a time you were young, and maybe you were just as cynical and old back then as you are now. I don't know. Is there anything else that you think that we should give him or ask him before we finish up today?
I assume he's going to just basically do the worksheet, and then come back to us next week with a...
Yep. Next week is the check-in, and we're going to look at what he's done on these.
Look at his 25, look at his lists, and we're going to go over them, right?
Yep. That's the plan.
Okay.
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 Well, any other questions about this? Like, maybe by the time I will have more questions. Like, for this is completely new for me, so this is unknown. So I have to, like, if you can give me more information about all the process. I have seen some videos, on your webpage on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be better if you can send me some like additional information about it, so I can take.
Sure. So do you want me to go over basically what the whole program is going to entail? Sort of the, I mean, this is in on that application page. There's a page that has sort of a FAQ, and there's a page with our basic curriculum, sort of the points.
Okay.
So the way that the program works is that for the first 3 months, we're going to meet every single week.
Okay.
Every other week, like today, we'll have sort of a core mentorship. Some of those will involve, exercises or sort of homework. In the very early stages, we're looking to find out as much as we can about your project. We're looking to figure out what sustainability looks like for your project, and also what kind of container is going to be best for the project so that it can become sustainable. We're also, during this early stage, going to, as we figure out more about the project, we're going to start talking about funding sources and how we're going to bring in funding to make it work, right?
Okay.
So all of those pieces really involve some assignments that are working on your project rather than working in your project. Okay, so working in your project is doing the things that your project is, right? Whereas working on your project is making sure that the project as a whole is able to continue moving forward. So this really early stage is a lot of working on the project, making sure that that project is a solid, well understood thing, and we'll call it an entity that you can sort of mentally grasp and get your head around, and that you know what your goal is, not just for the next 6 months, but also your longer term goal, and understanding exactly how flexible the longer term goals are and exactly what's involved in that short term goal.
Yeah. And keep in mind, the big question, the really crucial question that drives everything is, what are you really trying to do? And that's a very specific thing. Now, think about it this way. If what you were really trying to do is clean up the lake, that means things like you're going to be spending your time doing things like finding out the source of pollution, finding out what the pollutants are. If it's a factory that's polluting things, maybe you're taking political action. If instead what you're trying to do is perfect your biodome and your algae water cleaning system, you're looking at things like, how can I make it lighter? How can I make it more expandable? How can I make it cost-effective and saleable? In that case, you're looking at, you're spending your time, pricing things out, building prototypes, and that sort of stuff. And
Okay.
that's a whole different set of ways of using your time and resources. And it's all based around what you have decided you are really trying to do. And your long-term, you may decide that you want the lake cleaned up in 2 years, but for the next 6 months, what you're going to do is perfect your platform. So you're not going to think about where the pollutants are coming from or anything. You're just not going to do that. You're going to focus on the platform. Okay. And in 6 months, you'll have a good platform, and then you'll go on to figure out what the next step is. Maybe you need a new kind of algae to process a different kind of something. Maybe you need a design to make it more expandable. Whatever, but that's the stuff we're going to be thinking through, and work up a plan for you. So the project has sort of a long-term target and a short-term target, so you can use your resources in a way that's most effective and get you where you want to go.
And
Make
also
sense?
so that you know what resources you need to find outside. One of the things that you were talking about was that you don't have within your own capacity the software development skills, right? So as we figure things out, we may find that you need software development to move things forward, or we may find you don't need software development. Maybe we find that you need some other kind of skill from another person besides yourself. And so as we understand that, we'll be able to help you reach out and find those other people that are going to work with you and help to build your team so that you're not just standing by yourself in the wilderness. So during this process, you know, at the beginning, we're talking to you about issues, you know, or a specific subject. We're giving you some assignments to go away and do. The following week, you're checking in with us. You're telling us what you learned from the exercise, or what you found, or what you decided, or, you know, what's next. So it's sort of a systole and diastole, right? They're pumping in and pumping out, right? We're pumping stuff at you, and then you pump stuff back at us, and then we pump stuff at you, and then you pump stuff back at us every 2 weeks, right? Then by the time we're through with that first 3 months, you already have a really strong sense of what exactly it is that you're doing, where you're getting your funding from, you know, what the shape of your project really is. And at that point, you're doing a lot more work in the project as opposed to doing the work on the project, right? You still have to do some work on the project because, you know, administration never goes away, unfortunately. In my dream world, you don't have to administer anything. You can just do stuff, but that's not reality, unfortunately. But in the second half of this, you're going to be working much more in your project during mentorship. And for those, we're going to be bringing in outside mentors, as well as we'll also be helping you using our own expertise to help you with issues around things like developing your open source community. How do you do co-design, making sure that the end user of your project, of your product, and or services, that those end users are actively involved through the entire design process. It shouldn't be that you just design a thing and build a thing and make it, and then you hand it to somebody, and they're like, this is way too complex, I can't use it. Well, now you're going to have to go all the way back to the drawing board, right? It makes much more sense to get those people that are going to be your end users involved in the design process right from the very start. So for those mentorships, we're going to be talking about how to do that. We're going to bring in people with experience in doing that, so that they can tell you about what their experience was like and how they did things, because hearing other people's stories makes a big difference in terms of being able to take their experience and process it for your own project, right? Even if they're not giving you advice per se, just hearing what they went through, you can learn from their story. So you'll
Another thing too is, okay, if I might interrupt.
Go ahead.
Another thing too is a lot of the things you think you need now, you're probably going to realize as you go along that you really don't need them. And a lot of things that haven't even occurred to you, you're going to find out that you absolutely need. And it's always just amazing the stuff what the real needs turn out to be. I mean, in your case, I'm thinking something like, you know, the real need could be something like a glue that's going to hold up in the water and not kill the algae. I mean, that, you know, a little something like that could be a sticking point for the whole project. And what you really need is that one resource instead of a lot of software which you think you need now. So it's, as we go along, that stuff is gonna start popping out. And so I think you're in for some fun and interesting surprises. And also keep in the back of your mind that central question: what am I really trying to do? And we're gonna be pounding on that. So
yeah.
Yeah. Get used to that one. Okay.
And later on in the project, we'll also be looking at other technical issues. For most of the projects, there are issues of privacy and security. I don't know how privacy and security are going to fit in with the needs of your project, since it's, you know, we're not making Wi-Fi enabled toasters or something like that. But the minute that there's code sitting on these devices, there's definitely going to be a need for security in that code and making sure that things are not hackable. But we may also find during these early stages that there are security issues.
Yeah, for example, in research on the evapotranspiration of plants, there is a leak on the NASA projects that they say that low pressure might affect some vegetables during their development when they grow. So this could be like a hack of information. That might be a security on the future, right? A data security measurement for the future. Things like that, or research or investigation about how algae grows, or if we make a modification genetically engineering with microalgae, or we did some investigation about certain proportion of chemicals that might increase the vegetables proportion when they're growing. That might be like a security information, like personal information public don't need to know. And but that goes beyond the pro, like that's like the end of it when
Exactly
that's the future, right? Something right now. So yeah.
Right, it's not today's work, but you'll be surprised how quickly we start looking at these issues of co-design and security. And so these are just the core pieces of our curriculum, right? But we also have, for lack of a better word, electives. As we're working through your project, and once that sort of entity and form and shape is more clear, and the specific tasks that you need to do over the next 6 months have become more clear, then we will be reaching out to different experts, different people with experience in the sorts of things that you need to be doing that are going to be quite specific to your project. And they will come on and speak to you for an hour about their experience, and also hopefully be able to answer some of your questions for your project.
Nice.
So hopefully, all put together, that is going to help you to move things forward. And as always, we are always grateful for feedback from you about what works and what doesn't, because every time we do this, we're taking the lessons that we've learned from the last round into the next round. So you're already luckier than the people in the last round and the round before that, but you're already not as lucky as the people that are going to be in the next round, because you'll be helping us to be better for them. So thank you for that.
Of course. And I want to mention something during maybe this month or two. Well, it's a 6-month mentorship, but during this month or two, I'm going to be working on the Indiegogo account because I really need a computer. So I'm going to show you the things I'm doing for collecting money for a computer, and it's related with the project. So if you can help me to mentorship that, it's like I want to get like a $2,000 or $3,000, and I want to put software development inside. But maybe during this week I'm gonna show you what I'm doing in Indiegogo, so you can like put me on the right way, because
Okay.
I really, yes.
So I don't know what your time schedule is for doing the Indiegogo. If you're able to hold off just a little bit, right?
Okay.
And if you can't, don't worry about it. But if you're able to hold off just a little bit, one of the things that we're going to be doing fairly soon is putting together a budget of everything that you need in order to accomplish your goals. And one of those things is obviously a computer. And figure out.
Computer back in college. I have computer with some friends. I have this computer from my cousin, but I don't have my personal computer, so I can get my personal information there. Like I have access to the computer and everything, but I don't have my personal computer, right? So yeah.
Right. So, and that's really important. It's important to have the tools that you need.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we will be working with you on is figuring out a budget of all of the tools you need, not just the computer, and then putting together fundraising package for that, whether that's an Indiegogo fundraising or through another format. But we will definitely be working with you on that. If you feel like you need to do the Indiegogo now and you don't want to wait because it,
no. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna show you what I'm doing while we work on that.
Okay, great. So, and yeah, and like I was about to say, if you feel like you need to move forward on this Indiegogo right now, because you obviously having your own laptop is such a key tool, and with a budget of 2,000 or so, that's an Indiegogo that you can do fairly quickly. Don't feel like you have to wait.
Okay.
If you really need it right now, like, I totally understand. If you can wait a little bit, then we can pull it into the larger fundraising and get everything together all at once.
Okay.
So it's up to you, but we will definitely be helping you with fundraising.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So it is 5 minutes after the hour now.
Okay.
So I would like to thank you very much for your time. Thank you for applying to the program.
Yeah.
Thank you for being awesome. Seriously awesome.
Maybe
and
I need information from the biodome. Maybe the next time I'm gonna try to read it. And but there is a lot of information about the biodome and the terraformation platform. So yeah, by the time information will come.
Great. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with you, and I'm sure we're going to be in email contact over the week before the next call-in. I've already set the hangout for next week's meeting, which is the one where you're going to be, feeding back to us all the information from those 2 worksheets, and we will move forward from there.
Okay. Hey, this is awesome, guys. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. I hope we join forces like better than anything right now. And I know it works, and this is gonna work. It works. It works. We just have to push it, and as you sir, I just say make it a perfect platform. The structure, synthesize, infrastructure, information. All of that kind of information. We're gonna set up this, and we're gonna deploy the system in Atitlan. That's like my first stage for development. Then I'm going to the desert to show Guatemala government that a guy can do this. Not any politician, millionaire. No, there's a guy in Guatemala who can make this. If he has a great idea, he's gonna accomplish the mission. He's gonna cure hunger in this part of Guatemala, in this other part of Guatemala. He's gonna clean the lakes of Guatemala with the force and join others as an open source platform. So this is incredible. It's gonna be in a real time. Yes. Yeah.
Great. It's going to be great working with you. Thank you very much, Manuel.
Okay.
You take care.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.